Hello, everybody, and welcome to another 2023 Lamley Awards showcase. Another best of series tournament that we are going to do. Matchbox. There's the Matchbox best and most disappointing polls for basic and moving parts. But this is the best of Matchbox tournament that will be executed on Lamley Instagram. Tournament style, 16 cars paired up against each other randomly. You vote which one you like the better of the two, and then we go round by round, and we eventually figure out what model was the best of 2016 or 2023, right? Let's get right to it. There's your little reference for Matchbox. You'll probably see that one later, but we'll get that out of the way. And let's start. We'll showcase these as we draw them. I've got all the 16 models that were chosen by the Lamley Awards committee. They've looked at models that were super popular among collectors, models that really kind of reflected Matchbox, that really kind of like, I don't know, just there's a whole variety of models here you'll see, and I think it'll be a very, very nice tournament. So let's just get right to it. Start drawing these, and we'll figure out these pairings as we go. Those are all tangled up, and I folded these way too much, but oop, that's the one, right? Yep. All right. We start. Like I said, these can come from any. They can be new models. They can be existing models. This happens to be a new model. The basic AMC Eagle. Got all the cars here. Here it is. We'll put it on the turntable so you can take a look at it. This was a unique. Now, Matchbox highlighted by more factory style cars than modified cars. That's not always the case, but it seems like kind of that's what collectors expect. They also have been known for some unique choices, and I would say that the AMC Eagle is one of those. A car that if you, I don't know what age you'd have to be. This I think is a 1980, I believe. Yeah, 1980 AMC Eagle. There's a few of you that may not know anything about this car, but this was kind of like an off-road wagon, and the wood paneling is perfect. The wheels are actually quite appropriate on this one. Saw a ton of these back in the day. You hardly see any now. I think it's a rare when you do. And this was just, I love the choice. The execution on this one was really, really good. And I just strictly out of like, wait, what? They're doing an AMC Eagle? For those of us that appreciate it, man, that was a no-brainer. Really good first choice. Let's get these back in. Let's mix them up, figure out what's going to be next. I'm really throwing these all over the place. Boy, I can't even pick them up. That's what happens. People ask me why I'm using gloves. Because this is so close up. See how these little dust specks show up on here? The lighting is so good on these in this little studio, and I love showcasing the cars here. But it also means you don't need to be like, you don't need to see all the details of my fingers or whatever state they're in. So actually, it's not about me giving it some sort of like white glove fancy museum treatment. It's more about just sparing you having to see all the details of my human fingers just like anyone else's, you know? To let you focus on the car. Matchbox Collector 1954 Jag D-Type, a new model this year. It's actually considered, I think you consider it a basic because it's moving parts versus just non-moving parts, but I'm not going to call it a non-moving part. So this one actually, it was nice to see the return of the metal base. A few models released with metal chassis this year, which is really nice to see from Matchbox. I didn't even mention Matchbox 70th anniversary this year, right? So there's a bunch of 70th anniversary models. You'll see a couple in here. And this is the only version of this casting that was released this year is in this 70th anniversary. I'm looking forward to seeing it in other, probably more realistic decos. But this one is done kind of in the right style, obviously. But you can see this this two-seater with the offset fin. Just a super, super cool model. Unique choice, and I think with the metal base and the casting choice and the execution, that was an easy one. And there's a very diverse pair to start out. All right, let's keep going. As I'm mixing these up, I have to say, I'd have to think this through, but as I was going through this list that we created, I think Matchbox, if you look at the brands that had the best years, gosh, where is that? I think Matchbox, well, I'll say it in a second. Next one, Matchbox Creations 1980 Porsche 911 Turbo. casting that's been around for a little bit. Casting's been around for decades if you want to look at it that way, but ultimately this is the updated version of the 911 turbo casting. We've seen this, it's been out for 2 or 3 years now, and this version from Mattel Creations was one that was super unique, sold out in seconds, and a kind of a cool way they took this model from the 80s. Now this casting itself was really more based, less on the 911 turbo from 1980 and more on the 911 turbo casting, the classic Matchbox casting. There's some obvious updates here, but that's kind of what it was based on. So it was really cool to see them go on this, what I call it a tacky deco, but it's not tacky in terms of tacky. It's tacky in terms of like kind of 80s vibes, and it's really, really cool. A lot of people really like this one. I mean, that color combination is just out of control, and it looks crazy, but the model itself is just perfect. It's just a well executed model, the one that was easily added. Let's see what its opponent is going to be. What I was saying about Matchbox is I think the two brands that probably stood out in terms of, there's so many good things with so many good brands, but the two that as brands stood out, like had great years, you know, compared to previous years, I would put Mini GT with all of their race cars and Matchbox with just their variety and output this year. All right, that Porsche is going up against the Matchbox, the basic Rivian R1T. Rivian, if you have to remember. Now, I think that this may have technically been a 2022 release, but it wasn't. We didn't have it in time. It's released in Mix A of 23, so it was a holdover from 2022, but we didn't have it in time, and it did come out in the first mix of 2023. So it definitely goes into this one. I think there's another one, at least in the new models, that will fall into that as well. But really, really cool. I think it was the Toyota 4Runner. But this one, basic model, no moving parts on it. Rivian, seen more and more of these on the road. The trucks, obviously the SUVs out there now too. Very unique front end, and I don't think you can call it the grill. But, you know, Matchbox is doing a lot of EVs, and this one was a perfect choice and really, really well executed. The size is good on this one. Sometimes the trucks can be a little small, but this one fits nicely. Really dig that one, and that goes up against the Porsche. All right, let's see what's next. Next pairing in this best of 16. They're going to be hard. They're going to be hard decisions, and obviously go to Instagram and you can vote on these in my Instagram stories. Matchbox Collectors, the Triumph TR6. This is probably considered a basic model as well because there's no moving parts. This one was released plastic chest. No, there's a moving part. It has a hood opening. Forgot about that. Triumph TR6, we've seen it. Is it hung on the pegs a little bit? Maybe, but this was one that the committee really thought needed to be on there because it represents not only Matchbox's Lesney origins of being a British car, but British racing green. It also is the debut of the new Real Rider, if you want to use that term, two-piece tire, the disc wheel. This is not the plastic disc wheel. It's actually a new rubber tire version of the disc wheel, which was nice to see. And this one was super clean, just a kind of a perfect Matchbox car, right? The choice, the execution, the fact that it's stock or factory, however you want to say it, just a really, really nice version. Its opponent, even if it wasn't the quickest to fly off the shelves, it was another car in that mix that might be in here. And who knows, maybe it'll pair up against. Let's see. Nope. But it is this moving parts Chevy Tahoe. Another very Matchbox-esque casting. This one was moving parts. Here it is. Front Tahoe grille, opening hood. If I can try and get it open. I think kind of I can. But we'll put it on the turntable so you can look at it. This one in black. I think there's a maroon version that just came out too for 2024. But another one, you're going to see these factory vehicles in Matchbox a lot. And you can't do a best of Matchbox without doing a few of these. That's just like very much your standard road car. And we have one that's pretty much the epitome of that. We'll get to that in a little bit, but ultimately that's a good one. Let's see what the next pairing is going to be. So Triumph versus Tahoe. I kind of like that too because both of those are, I mean, they're nice. They probably don't stand out like others, but they get to go against each other, and one of those will move on to the second round. to face the winner of the next pairing. Matchbox Porsche Series 2007 911 GT3 in green. You're going to see two that came from this Porsche series that Matchbox released earlier in the year, a series that did not stay on the pegs for seconds. In fact, I'm going to probably see comments from a lot of you that you didn't even see it. Had the amazing art of using just the front grills or the front angles of these cars, and there were two that stood out, and I thought, just based on how popular the series was, it made sense to add two of them to the top 16, because I think this was the most popular series that Matchbox released this year, most popular kind of release, I guess, maybe not series. This casting debuted in 2007, and it remains super, super popular. This is a Rio Asada design, and now it's I mean, it's going to be 20 years old soon. It was did get the metal spoiler at one point during its run, but now it's got that. But this version in this bright, bright green was kind of an easy choice. There's another one in here, but this casting, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see this in the top 16 next year too. It's always popular, always something that collectors want. I think they've released a red version late this year, and then there's a white version coming out as well of this casting. Just a very popular model, and there it is in the top 16. I debated having it because it's been around for so long, and it was the second of that same series, but I just couldn't keep it out. And there's a lot of Porsches every brand did a lot of Porsches. All right. It is going up against, oh, there's a doozy. Matchbox Collectors Lexus LFA, new casting this year that I think a lot of you will also say you didn't see. I don't know what happened to this mix, but mixed feelings on this when it was first released, but it still remains something that collectors were talking about a ton, and I feel like it merited going in. Really nice to see a brand do a Lexus LFA, like one of the Mattel brands. And silhouette-wise, looks really good. Some people like, there's some details that, you know, I could do without the opening doors. That's my own opinion because of the gap it creates, but really, really nice to see it. This one actually debuted with a metal chassis. I don't know if we'll ever see it move to a plastic chassis. And it was also marked significantly, the debut, and we're seeing these come out more frequently, the 5-spoke two-piece wheels. So Matchbox is improving their two-piece wheels, which is nice to see, and this one reflected that. Maybe not exact Lexus LFA wheels per se, but what you would normally see on them, but because they have the kind of thicker tire. Still though, very much talked about model. So that is your first 8. Let's figure out the next 8. So it'll be the champion of these 8 versus the champion of the next 8 in the tournament's final round, and that's going to be it's going to be a pretty intense grouping right there. All right, first pairing for the next group. There's that other one, Porsche Series 1985 911 Rally in black. Another casting that's been around a few years, but probably put on its best outfit with this in the Porsche series. Jet black, super, super clean. Gets the detailing on the roof rack, and it gets the detailing in the front. Doesn't get anything in the back, but with black, you can definitely overlook that. It's fine. The side silhouette of this, these safari Porsches, these rally Porsches, you've been seeing them more and more on Instagram. People modifying them or creating them, and this casting has. I think this is a casting that's never gotten a really good version until this one, and this jet black version was an easy, easy choice. Let's see what is going up against it. There's a couple other Porsches. Let's hope that it's not one of those, but you never know. I did the Hot Wheels tournament, and we put a Porsche 930 versus a 930 in the first round. Here it is. Let's see, what did we pick? Not another Porsche, but another jet black model, moving parts Bollinger truck. This one, super cool. Maybe not a familiar vehicle, but it is based on a real vehicle that will be out soon, EV truck. And this one was marked by the fact that it had, before we put it on the turntable, tail that opens, a hood that opens, and then another front. So it had 3 moving parts. You can see right through the whole thing. Isn't that crazy? It's an EV, doesn't need an engine, so Matchbox took advantage of that and gave it 3 moving parts. We'll put it on the turntable now. Matte black, very boxy truck. I mean, definitely has a rugged look to it. And I don't know how, I mean, it kind of looks expensive, doesn't it? Kind of those old classic, you know, these old Hummers and stuff that people are driving. Kind of has that vibe. But I think it's going to be out soon. There's a point where it's going to be discontinued, but I guess it is now back in production, and we're going to see it out soon. A really, really cool model. And that's a black versus black pairing. That's going to be pretty cool. All right, next pairing. Can I get this one open? Oh, this is a good one. How about that? Matchbox Creations Porsche 911 RSR, GT3 RSR, right? I think I just shortened that real quick. Right, isn't it? Porsche 911 RSR. Oh, that's what they do call it. All right, there it is. This one came in Matchbox Creations. It's considered a basic model. Plastic chassis, no moving parts, but it has the plastic spoiler, which looks nice. It has this Matchbox. It got this Matchbox kind of RSR inspired deco on it with some Matchbox detailing. I don't know if this is a model we'll see in the dollar range, in the basic range. We could. I don't see why we wouldn't, but maybe it took a little bit more to produce. But only released in the Matchbox, in the Mattel Creations line, right? Or like the Matchbox version of the RLC. This one, so I got this one out of the acrylic case, just like the 80s Porsche. And I think there's some real fans of that one. You can see how Porsche heavy this is. 1, 2, 3, 4 already, and still one more to go. All right. That's just, I mean, I think you could safely say we might be in the Porsche era right now. Okay, what's going up against it? Porsche versus Porsche. Now, I put the Leipzig Porsche 910 in here. I don't have the Leipzig Porsche, so let's go with the 70th anniversary Porsche 910. So just focus more on the 910. Is it Leipzig? In Germany, there was the exclusive that this casting was done for. But just focus on this one because we really are. You can just judge this release. I forgot to change it, but ultimately it is this casting, the release of the new 910. Also in the 70th anniversary, looks really good. Two-piece tires done in that orange, you know, this orange, white, and gray color combination that Matchbox did for these for the 70th anniversary, and this is the second one. It came out in the same series, metal base, metal chassis, same series as the Jag, and a really, really cool classic vintage racing Porsche. And Diecast God said, well, let's put it up against the very modern racing Porsche. So that is that pairing. 2 more pairings to go. Let's mix these up. Let's see what this one's going to be. That's all the Porsches, by the way. There's still a lot. Matchbox moving parts, Ford Mustang Boss 302. Nice casting to see Matchbox do. We've seen obviously Hot Wheels do this one. We've seen a lot of people do it. Matchbox put out their very nice clean version with the opening hood. There it is right there. Put it on the turntable now. Just a nice clean silhouette. I think the stance is nice. Not sitting too low. This is more like the stock street version. Really done beautifully. Nice and clean. Not much to say about it, right? Other than, of course, Matchbox did it that way, and they should have done it that way. All right. This will determine this pairing. It will also determine the last pairing by picking this last one out of these 3. So I'll mix them up in my hand, and they go all over the place, and I'll just pick up that one. Oh, I said there was a very Matchbox road car model here, and there it is. Matchbox basic Nissan Sentra. Now, I didn't see people running into the streets celebrating the release of a 2017 Nissan Sentra, but the committee thought this car needed to be here so it could lose to whatever it went up against. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. The committee thought that this car would be here because it is such the perfect representation of a certain element of Matchbox, right? Putting out a car that you would see on the road. You may not have any opinion about it whatsoever, other than it's a car on the road, and Matchbox replicated it. This is the wheel variation, so it has an actually sportier wheel, but the real version, I couldn't find it. I just had this wheel variation. It has the 6 spokes and more of a stock, you know, kind of like just a standard like non-sports car wheel on it. But yeah, a really kind of like a pleasant choice doing the Nissan Sentra. Will it beat the Mustang? I have no idea. If you guys like the way Matchbox does this, vote for this one over the Mustang. It's your choice to do it. But just a nice representation of what Matchbox does. All right, we know what the final two are. I can just show them to you real quick, and then we'll showcase the cars. These are the other choices that we made. First one, another new model. Both of these are new models, actually. Matchbox Basic 1986 Volvo 240. Another new model that really, really nice choice by Matchbox to see this one done, and done beautifully. The old square Volvos, a lot of they're kind of like, you see a lot more people talking about these, modifying these, kind of in love with these old classic Volvos, and Matchbox put out a nice factory one for people to kind of get into, and I love this one in blue with the front and the rear detailing. That one was an easy one to choose, and then the last one, you guys can try and guess what it is. There were a lot of models that we wanted to consider, but these seem to be the best 16 to put out there. Another moving parts, Mercedes Sprinter. This one, okay, if I'm being honest, the moving parts, it really kind of shows where moving parts has come. And here's a very, you know, Matchbox doing it as big as they can within the parameters they have, which is the blister, the size of the blister. But they do this opening door that's done really well. Slides nice and clean and then pops in. Really nice deco. This one is the better model between this and the Hot Wheels version of the Sprinter. I understand the confines. You can't really make it that much bigger than the actual cars that they do, but it does look taller, bigger. They've done the off-road version of it, the nice deco here. I really like this casting. Really like it. The moving part is a nice addition here. And a really, really nicely executed model by Matchbox. And it goes up against the Volvo, so that's a doozy of a pairing too. There you go, 16 models. Go to Instagram and vote. All you have to do is figure out which of the two you like in the pairings, right? Or which model you like between the two. And before you know it, you've chosen, within a few days, you've chosen what you think is the best. I know it's hard sometimes, but just go through it, tap on the one you like the best, and we will crown a winner. It seems pretty accurate with what collectors like, so let's see how it goes. Thanks, everybody. Bye.